set, go. Okay, so to start, we have beads, and usually I'll have a whole foot of beads with 10 of my gemstone beads, and in between, on either side of each gemstone bead is a jump ring. So where there's 2 gemstones, you will have 2 jump rings, one for each side of the gemstone. So right now I only have 2, but this is how you start. You go to the very end of the wire and you hold on to it about 3 millimeters in from the end of the plier. So just a little bit in, because the further you go down this, the bigger the loop will be. So you have to be consistent about where you hold on to the wire. And so holding it tightly, I turn the wire and that turns the bead like that. And then loosening up my plier, I can then move the plier without touching the wire much. And I move the plier back to the beginning of the circle and hold on tight to the wire and pull it back to make a little bit of a crook, like a shepherd's crook, I guess you'd call it. And then again, I hold on near the top and I pull it just a little bit more so that I have a finished eye pin, is what this would be called if it was a cut off wire. But so, and I also close the eye pin, make sure it's closed real nice. So there, that's what that has to look like. And you want all those little eye pins to be consistent. Now I have that first loop, and I already made 1 bead, so I have 1 bead to add to that loop, and I do it in the beginning because it's easier to do when there's no bead up against it. And then I take the bead and I slide it down from the chain. And again, there's a jump ring on either side, and pushing the jump ring tight up against the bead, because you want these to be very tight. So you want to be tight up against the loop. You'll hold on to the bead now and you'll push. And I push perpendicular to the first loop that I've made. And then I take this, I cut 8 millimeters. Approximately, just my guess. But I know from experience this is enough to make a loop. I hold on to the end, again the same distance that I did last time, and I turn it towards me, holding it very tightly until the bottom part will end up inside and next to the, and close the loop in here. And if it's not completely closed, which usually it is, then I just sort of tighten it just a little bit with my plier. So there we have it. We have the finished bead. The final step is to make sure that the 2 loops are perpendicular. One's going up in this case, and one's going across in this case. And I make sure they're all nice and straight with the plier. And then this bead is done. And I can do the same thing until I have 10 beads, and then that has completed a decade.